Hey, how we doing everyone? Welcome back to another video on the awesome Kawasaki ZX-9 that keeps on giving. Alright everyone, so today we're going to be discussing discrimination against motorcyclists, whether or not it actually exists, and do I have any real life examples of it happening to me, and what we can actually do about it. So let's jump on and let's go. Yeah, it's interesting. I watched a video recently about it, and I've never actually thought about discrimination against motorcyclists until I watched that video. I can't remember what channel it was on, but if I do, I'll stamp it on the video here in post. But I thought it was quite interesting how, I don't know, because the motorcycle community is quite a small community, how, I don't know, it's almost like any discrimination that does happen, kind of like, well, yeah, they would go in there, wouldn't they? Any discrimination that does happen kind of just falls by the wayside because we are such a small community, at least in comparison to, I don't know, a lot of other enthusiast groups, the car enthusiast group, for example. I'm sure there's a lot more car enthusiasts out there than there are motorcycle enthusiasts. But it's just the fact that, yeah, it seems to go unnoticed a lot of the time, which isn't great, but at the same time, you can kind of understand why that might be the case, but that doesn't make it right, you know? And also in today's video, we are going to be practicing a few wheelies. Today I've actually assigned some time during the videos to practice some wheelies, so hope you lot don't mind. But, okay, so rider discrimination, looking at it, just from a big picture, does exist. And it actually is more prevalent than you might believe. So even up to government level, when it comes to learning how to ride a motorcycle, you're already automatically at a disadvantage because of all the hoops and jumps you've got to go through to actually even get on a motorcycle to begin with. Now you could make the argument that getting on a 125 is pretty damn straightforward. You don't have to do a motorcycle test, you don't even have to do a theory test. All you've got to do here in the UK is get a CVT, which is just a day's training, and you get your CVT certificate, and then away you go. But CVTs you've got to renew every 2 years, at least the way how it works currently, you've got to renew them every 2 years. But that's where the easy part stops, because you've got to do a theory test, as you do with your car, and then when you're driving a car, you've only got to do one practical test, whereas on motorcycles, you've got to do two practical tests. So you've got a module 1 and a module 2. A module 1 is like in an enclosed area where you're basically doing some drills, and then your module 2 is where you're actually riding out on the road, and that's where they assess you. And so even at this level, you can make the argument that discrimination exists because of how much harder it is to get a motorcycle license. I actually found it really annoying personally that I'd done a theory test for my motorcycle, and then I had to do another theory test for my car, my driving license, and it's like the theory tests are almost exactly the same, except there's one, maybe two questions that are specifically motorcycle related. I don't understand why I had to do two whole theory tests. It just, I don't know, it just didn't make any sense to me. And the thing is for me personally, I actually did my motorcycle test and my driving test, I think, in the same year. And theory tests, they do expire. I think it's after 2 years or something like that. Theory tests do expire. So, but I was, you know, I was in that position where I was able to do both within a short period of time. I did my motorcycle test first when I was 17, and then I did my driving test when I was 18. So, I mean, that was, God blimey, that's a long time ago now. Nearly 15 years ago. But it's a nice bike. But yeah, so even at that level, getting a motorcycle license is arguably, you know, it tries to deter people in some way or other. And I know that there are some activist groups out there that are trying to get the motorcycle licensing changed so it's not as difficult to get a motorcycle license, because it's just discouraging people from riding, you know? Little baby wheelie there. was bad. We're doing first gear clutch ups today. There we go, another baby wheelie. Yeah, we're probably going to stick to first gear clutch ups just because I'm more comfortable with them, and there's no one else behind me, so let's try again. Yeah, not bad, little baby wheelie, nice and controlled there. So yeah, I think part of the issue is a motorcyclist has got to do a hell of a lot more than a regular road user to get on a motorcycle. And in a lot of ways, a motorcycle is actually easier to ride than a car. You've got so much more room on the road to maneuver. You've got so many more options, when compared to a car, at least. Anyway, that I don't know. There are certain things that don't seem to make a lot of sense. I know that there are going to be people out there that will make the argument, well, motorcycles are more dangerous, so you need more training to do your motorcycle test. And it's like, dude, your motorcycle test teaches you nothing, man. Just because you do a motorcycle theory test and a mod 1 and mod 2 doesn't mean that you're automatically an expert motorcyclist. Just like driving a car, you've got to get a good 1 year to 2 years experience before you can actually consider yourself a competent driver. And it's the exact same thing with a motorcycle. You've got to do the exact same thing. And not to mention the fact that there are glass ceilings as well when it comes to the motorcycle licensing thing, because depending on your age, you're 17 years old, you get your CBT, or in fact you get your CBT at 16, but you get your CBT at 17, for example, and you do your A2 motorcycle license, which then entitles you to ride bikes up to, it's basically 400cc, but it's up to 45 horsepower. You have to do that for 2 years. Or is it until you're 21 now? Yeah, it might be until you're 21, or maybe even 22 before you can actually go ahead and get a full license. And I think you have to redo your test. It never used to be like that. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. That might be wrong. But I think you might have to redo your test these days to actually get onto your full license. Which again, when you're already paying something ridiculous like £700, £800, £900, £1,000 for a direct access course to get your A2, and even back in the day when I did it, it was a case of, well, you did your full motorcycle license, but you were on A2 for 2 years. Then after that, you automatically qualified for a full license. So it was a little bit more straightforward when I did it. But even so, that stigma still exists against motorcyclists. You know, it's like what? Motorcyclists cause more damage. They I don't know, they cause more problems to everyone else on the road, to every other road user. So that's why they've got to be punished before they even get on a motorcycle. Like, you can't have an interest in bikes these days to get a motorcycle license. That isn't enough. You have to be like 100% committed to getting involved in this hobby before you could even consider getting your motorcycle license, all right? Because you'll just give up. You'll look at the process and you'll be like, oh my goodness, what is the point? I'm gonna have to do so much. I'm gonna have to commit 5, maybe 6 years of my life to try and get my motorcycle license, whereas you can do it within a year in your car. It's just, it is absolutely crazy. And speaking of which, I mean, because you've done your theory test for your A2, does that mean you've got to do your theory test again for your A license, your full A license? Gosh, I don't know, man. It's just downright awful what motorcyclists have got to do these days. And the problem is that, yeah, like I kind of said, it's putting people off. People who might actually get involved in the hobby, it's putting them off because they've got to invest too much time, too much money, too much effort to getting it done. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's easier to do when you're younger. So well, let's go down here, because you got more time. When you're supporting a family, or when you own your own home and you've got bills to pay and things like that, it becomes much more difficult to justify the cost of getting involved than if you were someone younger living with your parents. Little baby wheelie. This road's quite nice, actually. Woo! I'm going to try and build it up nice and gradually, because I haven't actually done clutch ups in probably since last year. Woo! That was a good one. Nice little wheelie. That was quite a big one there. Quite a nice big one. I think we'll go straight over. There's another road over here that we can use to practice down, and then I think we'll turn back around and we'll go down straight lane. The classic straight lane. Don't know how many I'm going to be able to fit down here, but oh, that wasn't a good one. Nope, that wasn't good. It's all about timing with the clutch, really, more than how much gas you give it. Although giving it a little bit of gas does help an awful lot. Little baby wheelies. And that's kind of like the process when you're learning how to wheelie. Is you'll get used to doing like the little bumps off the ground, the front wheel, and then eventually you'll get the hang of picking the wheel up a little bit more. Let's go around this bend and we'll do another one. I think I might leave chapters in this video if you want to skip this bit. So if you're not interested in wheelies on motorcycles, then yeah, go ahead and skip along if you want to. That's why you don't think about clutch ups is that you don't have to do them that quickly either. I mean, 30 to 40 mile an hour is plenty good enough. You know? Little baby ones. So sometimes as well, you think you're gonna have a good wheelie, and you end up, you know, pulling it, and you're bracing yourself for it. But yeah, another little baby one there. The point you want to get to is where you're able to control the wheel going up and down just with slight movements of the throttle. At least that's what I've learned. Right, okay, I'm gonna turn around here because this road's getting a bit too windy for my liking. Woo! Little baby wheelie. I don't know about you guys, but I get really nervous as well trying to pull wheelies when there's other people around. I think it's probably for the best because, yeah, you don't really want something going wrong, do you, when you're pulling a wheelie? Then cause you a load of problems. Woo! Yeah, not bad. Nice little controlled wheelie there. I want to get to the point where I can do clutch ups on like any motorcycle. The reason why I like doing them on the ZX-9 is because if I drop this bike, it really isn't a big deal. You know, yeah, it would suck, but it's an old bike that's been beaten and dropped before plenty of times, so yeah, it's not a big deal really. And I'd only ever really recommend that if you're gonna go out and practice wheelies like this, you do it on a motorcycle that you don't really care about. Yeah, nice little good one there. I don't know if I'll ever get around to doing a video on how to do wheelies unless I get really good at them. Then yeah, I'm probably never gonna do a video like that. But because I don't know, as much as I think wheelies are actually a good skill to have, it's because you're getting to know the bike more. You're understanding what the bike does when it's pulling a wheelie. I mean, I've seen it before where there's people at red lights, they catch it a certain way, they catch the accelerator and the clutch in a certain way, they pull a wheelie off the line, and they don't know that that's what the bike is going to do. At least you're preparing yourself if that does ever happen to you. Yeah, nice wheelie there. We'll go down our other road here and then we'll head on to straight lane. So I mean, that's when it comes to kind of like the top level, and even when you're learning to ride motorcycles. But even like in society, motorcyclists have this stigma. I mean, a great example is the fact that you go into some supermarkets, you go into a petrol station, you go and pay for your fuel or something like that, and you get told to take your helmet off, even though your visor is up and everything. And especially during COVID, where people were wearing masks everywhere, it's like, well, okay, so you try to tell me that it's alright for someone to wear a mask when they go into a shop, but it's not okay for a motorcyclist to wear the helmet? It's kind of like double standards, you know, and I didn't like that at all. But since masks are now kind of no longer a thing anymore in the UK, they're kind of optional now, it still irks me. And to be fair, for the most part, if I walk into a petrol station to pay for my fuel, the cashiers, they don't care if you're wearing a helmet or not. But you'll get some that really care for some reason. I was trying to get a good one in there. I'm going a bit too fast for this gear. Yeah. So yeah, you get asked to take your helmet off, or I don't know, people, they tend to look at you in really like strange ways. It's like they look at you on two wheels and they automatically have this opinion of you, and they don't even know who you are. That's especially true when you're out riding to work or something like that. You do something like a filter, and because people, drivers don't like you filtering, despite the fact that filtering is legal in the UK. You are allowed to do it, and I heavily encourage all of you to do filtering whenever possible, because it is safer for you, and the added benefit is that you're going to get to your destination quicker. Woo! It's little things like that where, yeah, you do a filter and people don't like it. They just start shouting at you, start honking their horns. And it's like, you know, okay, I'm trying to ease congestion here by filtering, by riding my bike to begin with, and then you're like, you're telling me off for it. Just stupid, man. So, yeah, I don't know. It does annoy me how these things happen towards motorcyclists, and it's all because people have this wrong impression of us. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a ton of people within the motorcycling community that give us a bad name. I mean, they are the minority, but unfortunately, those are the people that we end up seeing in the news. I mean, recently, I did a reaction video, and I don't know why or how this transpired, but some motorcyclist got annoyed with this lady inside a car. He was with a huge group of bikers, and for some reason he started smashing her car in, destroyed the rear view window, and then it turns out he had a gun as well, which he ended up dropping. So it's just things like that just give us a bad name, and the vast majority of us aren't like that. We're actually quite nice people. We're actually people who, if anything, will actually help you if you're in a situation like that with someone else. We'll actually help you. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's sometimes you think to yourself, well, no wonder we've got such a bad reputation amongst normal people, because those few of us that aren't really welcome, as far as I'm concerned, those kinds of people aren't welcome within our community. Those are the ones that give us the most amount of trouble when it comes to our perception, the way we're perceived in the eyes of the vast majority of people. And depending on your experience with motorcyclists, from road use or from, I don't know, from something you saw in the news or something your friends told you or what have you, anything like that will determine your point of view, your opinion going forward around motorcyclists. It's like my dad, as a great example, he's always thought that motorcyclists actually are some of the better road users that you'll find out there. They're actually more sensible, they're actually more aware of what's going on, they're not mindless zombies like the vast majority of road users. So his opinion of motorcyclists is actually quite positive. And he's a police officer, an ex-police officer. So it's interesting how that's how a police officer feels. But then you ask someone else, and they won't feel the same way at all. You know, they'll see us doing this, practicing wheelies or something like that, and they'll think, oh, it's antisocial behaviour. And it's like, mate, you haven't got a bloody clue. You're practicing bad wheelies, but practicing wheelies nonetheless. In there, I had 3 teeny tiny wheelies. In fact, actually, I think with one of them, the wheel didn't even come off the ground. Do you know, that's one thing I've never done on this bike, is a throttle up. A power wheelie. I've never done one. I got a little bit spooked then because I gave it quite a lot of gas. And if you recognize that, if you pick that up, that's what's happening. Abort. Abort from the wheelie. Come off the gas immediately, put your foot on that rear brake. I mean, you should be keeping your foot covering that rear brake anyway if you're doing this, but this will start to hurt your hand after a little while as well. I'm one of those people that likes to use a 2-finger technique. You'll see some people using the whole hand or 1 finger. It really depends on what you get comfortable with, to be honest. I mean, 2 fingers, I like to use 2 fingers just because, I don't know, I feel like I'm able to control the movement a little bit more on the clutch. Woo! I didn't like that, I aborted. Yeah, because I landed quite hard on the ground there, but yeah, things like that. I was probably absolutely fine. I probably could have held that, but yeah, I got a little bit too spooked. When I'm not in full control of the wheelie, yeah, I'm not comfortable, so I just abort immediately. But yeah, sometimes when that front wheel comes up quite violently, that's when I'm a little bit. Yeah, that's why I don't like it. But to be fair, that's probably what you need. Yeah, everyone. All right, so discrimination amongst motorcyclists does exist, and what can we do about it? To be perfectly honest with you, there isn't a lot we can do. Do your good deeds, be a good Samaritan. You know, if you see someone that's in trouble or someone they're struggling to do something, pull over, give them a hand. They'll immediately think differently about motorcyclists straight away, because the vast majority of us are good people. And we don't do this to annoy people. We do this for our own personal pleasure, of course, for our own joy. But also as well, like, we've gone through a lot of training, we've gone through a lot of hoops to get to this point where we're able to ride bikes. At least anyone in the last 30 years. I think anyone who got their motorcycle test before that, or your motorcycle license before that, all you had to do was show up for your test and you got your license, I think. But yeah. Times have changed an awful lot since then, unfortunately. But you know, just do your good deeds and try wherever you can to do things that, I don't know, that put us in a positive light. Because there's already this stigma. We're already fighting an uphill battle, so to speak, in how regular society feels about us. Channels like ours are designed to try and nurture that enthusiasm, but the love, the positive image that motorcyclists actually have, rather than the negative one that society perceives them as. So, unfortunately, there isn't much that we can do apart from just making sure that whenever something is happening, that we are fully aware of the situation and we react the way how we're supposed to react, that we react in a way that is becoming of a motorcyclist, someone who is more responsible than the vast majority of other road users, someone who is more capable, a more capable road user. Because we've done a lot more than the vast majority of regular road users. We know what it feels like to be this vulnerable, this open on the road. We're taking our lives on our hands every single day, but doesn't stop us from riding. At least in a car you've got this cage that can protect you, whereas on a motorcycle you haven't. So you have to have that extra attitude. You've got to have that extra awareness. You've got to be so in tune. You've got to be so on it when you're riding your bike. But anyway, everyone, I mean, that is pretty much it for today's video. But you let me know down in the comment section if there's any examples that you have of discrimination against motorcyclists, against yourself. Let me know what it was like. Let me know how it was resolved and how you feel about it. Because it is a subject that unfortunately isn't talked about all that much. We talk about how wonderful and how great bikes are, yeah, but those videos only really go out to people who have an interest in bikes to begin with. Those people that don't, well, they'll never see this side of motorcyclists. So share this video. Share it with your friends, share it on social media, whatever social media platform you're on, to try and bring a little bit more awareness about discrimination and why there's not a lot we can do about it as a community, even though we're good people. The vast majority of us are really good people. So I know that in the United States it's a little bit different with the Hells Angels and things like that. I mean, they don't exactly have a good reputation, or cruiser bike riders don't have a good reputation either. But again, I guarantee you that in the United States, cruiser bike riders, the vast majority of cruiser bikers are actually decent people. You know, rather than the dicks that you see on YouTube regularly or on the internet. But yeah, everyone, there you have it. Thank you ever so much for joining me on today's ride. I hope this has given everyone some food for thought. As always, leave that like, hit that subscribe button, let us know what you think down in the comment section below, as I mentioned earlier. And we will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. Ride safe.